Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges. Senator Bridges.
Excused.
Buckner. Coleman. Cutter. Danielson. Exum. Fields.
Excused.
Gardner. Senator Gardner. Janal. Gonzalez. Hanson. Henriksen. Huckes Lewis. Senator Huckes Lewis. Kirkmeyer. Kolker. Senator Kolker. Liston. Senator Liston. Lundin. Marchman. Michelson Janae. Malika. Pelton B. Pelton R. Priola. Rich. Roberts. Rodriguez. Simpson.
Excused.
Smallwood. Sullivan. Van Winkle. Will. Winter.
Excused.
Zenzinger. Senator Zenzinger. Mr. President.
Here. Morning roll call is 31 present, 0 absent, 4 excused. We do have a quorum. Senator Buckner, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Good morning, everyone. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Gardner. Just joking. Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we're at another week that seems so long. I've been having the journal read all wrong. I don't do it to be cavalier, but just to bring some good cheer. So maybe reading this task should become a drinking song. Guess y'all didn't get that one. Guess you didn't get that one either. Okay. All right, very good. With that, I move the Senate Journal of February 22nd of 2024 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion.
I'm very thankful I don't have to do this for a while.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
February 23rd, 2024, correctly printed Senate Bills 165 and 166, SM1. Correctly engrossed Senate Bill 23, 24, 25, 89, 93, and 138. Correctly revised House Bills 1016, 1042, and 1091. Correctly enrolled Senate Joint Resolution 4.
Committee reports.
Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology, February 22nd, 2024. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends following. Senate Bill 140 be postponed indefinitely, and Senate Bill 147 be postponed indefinitely. Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 115 be amended as follows, and so amended be referred to the committee of the whole with favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 116 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 80 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 141 be referred favorably to the Committee on Finance. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 59 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. The Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments. Recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirm members of the Mined Land Reclamation Board for terms expiring March 1, 2027. William Baker of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a member with experience in agriculture appointed. Karen Stiegelmeyer of Silverthorne, Colorado, to serve as a member with experience in conservation appointed. Eleanor Irene Ware-Morris of Breckenridge, Colorado, to serve as a member with substantial experience in the mining industry reappointed. Members of the Colorado Tourism Office Board of Directors for a term expiring June 1, 2024. Vinay Patidar of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the tourism-related retail industry and small business occasioned by the resignation of Wanda James of Denver, Colorado, appointed for terms expiring June 1, 2027. Daniel Perala of Steamboat Springs, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the hotel, motel, and lodging industry and as a representative of a small town appointed. Amber Blake of Durango, Colorado, to serve as a representative of a tourism-related transportation industry appointed. Dana Rodriguez of Westminster, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the food, beverage, and restaurant industry appointed. House Bill 1032 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation, with recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 126 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation. Committee on Finance, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 146 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 114 be postponed indefinitely. Committee on State, Veterans, and Military Affairs, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 135 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 109 be amended as follows and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 60 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. And House Bill 1093 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation to be placed on the consent calendar.
Message from the House.
February 22, 2024, Mr. President, the House has passed on third readings and returns herewith Senate Bill 51. The House has adopted and returns herewith Senate Joint Resolution 7. The House has passed on third reading and transmitted to the Revisor of Statutes. House Bill 1227 amended as printed in House Journal February 21, 2024.
Message from the Revisor.
February 22, 2024, we herewith transmit without comment as amended House Bill 1227.
Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1094 by Representatives Lukens and Soper and Senators Roberts and Will concerning earnest money deposits received after the Real Estate Commission has approved a developer subdivision registration and in connection therewith allowing the use of developer subdivision earnest money deposits by accredited investors.
Local Government and Housing.
House Bill 1097 by Representative Taggart and Weissman, Senators Fields and Gardner concerning occupational credentialing for military families.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1100, Representative Vihil, Senator Huckus Lewis, concerning a requirement that a coroner be certified by the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigators or the American Board of Pathology in forensic pathology.
Local Government and Housing.
House Bill 1130 by Representative Daugherty and Lynch and Senators Lundin and Hansen concerning protecting the privacy of an individual's biometric data.
Judiciary. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up out of order consideration of resolutions.
The motion is for the Senate to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and the Senate will now proceed out of order for the consideration of resolutions. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 10?
Senate Joint Resolution 10 by Senators Liston and Buckner and Representative Hartsook concerning the recognition of Colorado's special relationship with Taiwan.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move Senate Joint Resolution 010.
To the resolution.
Very good. And I would ask that it be read at length.
Will the clerk please read Senate Joint Resolution 10 at length?
Senate Joint Resolution 10 by Senators Liston and Buckner, Representative Hartsick, concerning the recognition of Colorado's special relationship with Taiwan. Whereas Colorado and Taiwan have enjoyed a sister state relationship marked by enduring friendship and cooperation since 1983, and whereas Colorado and Taiwan maintain a mutually beneficial trade relationship, so that Taiwan has consistently ranked among Colorado's top 10 trade partners as both an export destination and an import source. And whereas in June 2022, a satellite industry delegation from Taiwan visited Colorado to explore business opportunities, and in April 2023, Taiwan sent another delegation comprising officials, researchers, and industry members to attend the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs. And whereas Colorado is actively pursuing growth in the semiconductor sector, and Taiwan, the world's leading semiconductor manufacturer, serves as an ideal and trustworthy partner for Colorado, and whereas pressure from the People's Republic of China has excluded Taiwan from full and effective membership in several international organizations, and whereas the signed agreements and further negotiations taking place under the U.S.-Taiwan Initiative on 21st Century Trade are expected to further benefit cooperation between Colorado and Taiwan, including opportunities in the aerospace, defense, and clean technology sectors. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 74th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, 1, celebrate the 41st anniversary of Colorado-Taiwan sister state relations, 2, support Taiwan's democracy, free economy, and respect for human rights, 3, strongly support Taiwan's inclusion in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, and 4, strongly support Taiwan's meaningful inclusion and participation in international organizations, including the World Health Organization, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the International Civil Aviation Organization, and the International Criminal Police Organization.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. You all may sit down. Thank you for acknowledging us. I would like to acknowledge our guests today who are sitting over on this side of the room, of the Senate chamber, and I'm so excited that you are here today as we celebrate the relationship between Colorado and Taiwan. Taiwan is a steward of democracy, individual rights, and the free market. I live in Aurora, as you all know, and my Senate district is in Aurora. And Aurora and New Taipei City have a new sister city agreement, and I am so excited to continue our relationship. Your culture is beautiful, and it's so inclusive. And when we have had events in Aurora, you have just welcomed us with open arms, and I know that that relationship will continue, and we will continue holding hands, explaining to everybody more about your culture and what we can do together in Aurora and in the state of Colorado.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you can have a seat if you like, if you choose. Members, Senator Buckner and I, we're very pleased to bring this resolution to you today, which truly recognizes the importance of Colorado and Taiwan's special relationship, which received official recognition in 1983. I would like to take this opportunity to speak to you all about why Colorado's relation with Taiwan is so consequential to the state and our national level. Firstly, Taiwan is a flourishing democracy that shares with the United States and Colorado such common values as freedom, democracy, respect for human rights, the rule of law, and a market-based economy. Taiwan's thriving liberal democracy serves as a beacon for the Indo-Pacific region and thus makes them a very important national and state ally. Additionally, the relationship between Colorado and Taiwan strengthens the alliance excuse me, and a deterrent role the United States plays in the defense of Taiwan. There are several Asian countries that are important U.S. allies, including Japan and the Philippines, which are closely monitoring whether the U.S. honors its alliance with Taiwan. Whether or not the U.S. upholds its commitment will allow them to gauge how seriously the U.S. takes honoring their alliances within the region. Colorado's close and mutually beneficial relationship with Taiwan plays a large role in upholding this alliance nationally. Needless to say, the alternative to this allyship with the U.S. is not neutrality. It is the inevitable succumbing to the CCCP dominance. Taiwan is a vital player in the global economy with a near monopoly on certain goods. Taiwanese companies manufacture nearly 70% of the world's semiconductors and almost 90% of the most advanced chips. If we were to lose the Taiwan production capacity, no other country in the world would be able to fill this gap. Taiwan's continual production of these indispensable goods is contingent upon the U.S. serving as a strong deterrent to the CCCP. Finally, colleagues, I must remind you that there has been a very dangerous precedent set for democratic countries being overtaken by neighboring authoritarian regimes with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This precedent would become a trend of the global stage if Taiwan, one of Asia's few democratic success stories, and by some measures the region's freest society, were to succumb to Chinese influence following an invasion. These recent developments have made Colorado's relations with Taiwan an even more important and very consequential. In commemoration of this historic friendship and cooperation on its 41st anniversary, we can look to further cooperation and negotiations that are taking place between Colorado and Colorado to bring opportunities in the aerospace, defense, and clean technology sectors, exploration of business opportunities that are both beneficial for Colorado's economy and job growth for all parties involved. And so with that, Mr. President and members, I hope you will join me in giving a recognition to the, if I may, Mr. President, to Mr. Bill Wang, who is the Director General of the Taiwan delegation, and Ms. Elsa Lin, the Consular Office. So will you join me in welcoming them to the Senate chamber? Thank you very much.
Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, with that, I would ask for an aye vote for Senate Joint Resolution 010.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 10. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 4 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 10 is adopted. Senator Buckner.
Mr. President, we are requesting that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Members, we will recess for a few moments to greet our guests. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The Senate will come to order. Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the titles of all of the bills on the consent calendar?
House Bill 1042 by Representatives Snyder and Taggart and Senators Colker and Van Winkle concerning technical corrections to the statutes that govern fire and police pensions. House Bill 1016 by Representatives Leader and Armagost and Senators Colker and Van Winkle concerning emergency communication services and in connection therewith defining the term emergency communication specialist and clarifying the scope of the currently authorized use of certain emergency telecommunication service charges, revenue for training and services rendered by an emergency communication specialist, other public safety answering point personnel, and other essential emergency personnel.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the passage of all the bills on third reading of bills consent calendar, which include House Bill 1042 and House Bill 1016.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all of the bills in the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request to be a no vote on HB 24-1042.
Senator Pelton B will be recorded as a no vote on House Bill 1042. With a vote of 30 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 4 excused, House Bill 1042 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Mullica, Exum. Please add Senator Priola as a co-sponsor. With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 4 excused, House Bill 1016 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Marchman, Priola, Majority Leader Rodriguez, Cutter, Buckner, Jaquez Lewis, Janal, Liston, Will, Gonzalez, third reading of bills, final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1091?
House Bill 1091 by Representatives Brown and Titone and Senators Cutter and Jaquez Lewis concerning prohibiting restrictions on the use of fire-hardened building materials in residential real property.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1091 on third reading and final passage and ask for your support.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of House Bill 1091. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Baisley, Gardner, Minority Leader Lundin, Smallwood, Pelton R. With a vote of 'Members, we're going to do that one more time because of a computer issue. Are there any no votes on House Bill 1091? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Baisley, Gardner, Minority Leader Lundin, Smallwood, Pelton R. With a vote of 24 ayes, 7 noes, 0 absent, 4 excused, House Bill 1091 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Hinrichsen, Michelson Janae, Gonzalez, Janal, Priola, Exum, Hanson. Please have the president. General orders. Second reading of bills, consent calendar, Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? No. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
Mike.
The committee will now come to order, and the coat roll is now relaxed. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title of the bill on the general order, second reading of bills consent calendar?
House Bill 1047 by Representatives McCormick and Catlin, Senators Roberts and Simpson, concerning the scope of practice for veterinary technicians and in connection therewith directing the State Board of Veterinary Medicine to promulgate rules regarding the supervision of and the delegation of certain tasks to veterinary technicians, veterinary technician specialists, or other personnel by a licensed veterinarian and establishing a veterinary technician specialist designation.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption of the bill on the consent calendar, which is House Bill 1047, and there are no committee reports.
The motion is for the adoption of House Bill 1047. Are there any, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a bill under consideration. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the report?
February 23rd, 2024, Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1047 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 4 excused, Committee of the Whole report is adopted. House Bill 1047 passed on second reading and ordering revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders. Second reading of bills. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Henriksen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the coat roll is relaxed. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to House Bill 241048? SCR 001.
SCR 001 by Senators Danielson and Fields and Representatives Duran and Weissman, submitting to the registered electors of the state of Colorado an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning allowing Colorado lawmakers to pass laws that permit victims of childhood sexual abuse to bring a civil claim for the sexual abuse regardless of when the sexual abuse occurred.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the SCR 001 be laid over until Monday, February 26th.
The motion is that SCR 001 be laid over until Monday, February 26th. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and SCR 001 is laid over. Mr. Hubler, will you now please read the title to House Bill 24-1048?
House Bill 1048 by Representatives McCormick and Martinez and Senators Janal and Pelton B, concerning the provision of veterinary services through telehealth.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 1048. There are no committee reports.
Senator Janal.
House Bill 1048 defines different types of telehealth tools that can be used in veterinary practice. It clarifies the examination must be an in-person physical examination, and it also extends the veterinarian-client-patient relationship to licensed veterinarians who share the same physical premises. As veterinarian who established the relationship if other veterinarians have access to and have reviewed the patient's medical records. The bill allows a licensed veterinarian who has established a veterinary client-patient relationship to use telehealth to provide veterinary services to clients in Colorado with the consent of the client. A licensed veterinarian may also refer to a patient, a veterinary specialist, who may provide veterinary services by telemedicine under the referring veterinarian's relationship with the client and the patient. The bill also clarifies that only a licensed veterinarian with an established veterinarian-client-patient relationship may prescribe medication using telemedicine. The veterinary professionals and other veterinary personnel and patients are all and must be located in Colorado. The bill also establishes record-keeping confidentiality and privacy requirements related to the use of telehealth. And Mr. Chair, I do believe that there is an amendment that my co-prime would like to present.
There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read Amendment L003?
L003, amendment reading Gross
Senator
Bill, page
Pelton.
4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L003.
To the amendment.
So what this amendment helps to make it even more clear what happens during televice and teletriage consults when it isn't required to have an established VCPR. And it cross-references a part that is already in practice, in the Practice Act, which allows the dispensing of medications by a veterinarian without a VCPR. If a referring veterinarian in an emergency or urgent situation has sent the request and it has been documented per statute. Nothing to this amendment changes the way that veterinary medicine has been practiced since the invention of the telephone, and it just clarifies that for people who don't understand how these things happen. So that's what the amendment does. I ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of Amendment L003 to House Bill 1048. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L003 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Pelton.
I ask for an aye vote on House Bill 1048.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of House Bill 1048. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1048 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 24-073?
Senate Bill 73 by Senator Smallwood and Rodriguez and Representative Velasco concerning a change to the maximum number of employees that an employer may employ to qualify as a small employer for health care insurance coverage.
Senator
No.
Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We move Senate Bill 73.
To the bill. Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, this bill has been 2-3 years in discussion in this building between me and my co-sponsor. It's a very simple bill. It changes in statute the number 100 to the number 50 to match with 46 other states in the country that have the small employer at 50 and under who are not mandated to buy health care, and the ones at 50 and over to buy health care to join, and provide some discounts for some discounts being in the higher risk pool. If any of you know insurance, they'll get some discounts and they'll save some people some money. There's a lot of boogeymen and gotchas out there saying this is going to destroy or mess up the market for the small employers, but as my co-sponsor and I have worked through this process, we had agreed that we would not let that happen and would not have run this bill or would have PI'd it if we saw data that showed that. And we were pleasantly surprised to get reports from the communities that provide this coverage, that provide a majority of this coverage, that it actually could do some savings or any changes in premium could be nominal. I will defer to my colleague to get into the more technical terms of the healthcare coverage, but that's the brief outside summary of the bill.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, thanks to the Majority Leader. And as we mentioned in the committee, thanks to the staff that helps the Majority Leader. They sat through hours of stakeholdering conversations with all sorts of interested parties to learn more about this. And as the Majority Leader mentioned, this bill simply changes the definition of what a small employer is in the state of Colorado, but only for the purposes of health insurance. So folks have reached out saying, hey, does this define a small employer as this or that when it comes to federal laws or anything else? It does nothing other than change that for the purposes of health insurance. It is to provide relief, immediate relief for health insurance rates for those businesses that will now be defined as large group. We all know in almost every case, large group health insurance rates are cheaper than small group health insurance rates. So why not extend those cheaper large group rates to as many folks as we can, while at the same time protecting those very same industries who maybe wouldn't benefit from large group rates. They can stay small group and continue with their plan there. Any organization who's concerned about essential health benefits, if the small group definition of essential health benefits are important to them, they can stay small group with their same carrier and their same plan. So they have everything to gain and nothing to lose. And finally, as the Majority Leader mentioned, we've had extensive conversation with the carriers who have told us that generally speaking, they do not feel that changing this definition will do anything detrimental for the remaining 2 to 50 pool, and in some cases actually help the 2 to 50 pool. I'm glad to go into the technical details of that with you. Again, we had hours of conversations with interested parties and the carriers to go through exactly that, and would ask that you join the Health and Human Services Committee with an aye vote.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the sponsors. I have a question for the sponsors. I hear your argument. I'm not a member of the Health Committee, so I didn't get to sit through the testimony of this bill. So I have a question about if we make this change, the employers that are 2 employees to 50 employees, that will now be the eligible small group participants. It seems that if we're restricting the amount of people that can buy a small group plan, we are lowering the risk pool. We are decreasing the amount of covered lives, which naturally would lead me to assume that the prices will go up for that group. But I think you just said the opposite, so I want to hear further explanation on that if you can.
Senator Smallwood.
That is an excellent question, one that the Majority Leader and I also asked, because again, conventional wisdom, we talked a lot about this in the Health Committee. Conventional wisdom, and I don't even know if I should use that term. I would say maybe urban legend says that a bigger pool is better. So the analogy that I would draw is if you have 10,000 people buying car insurance, is that better than 5,000 people buying car insurance? Again, urban myth would say, yeah, well, yes, the bigger pool is better. Well, what if 5,000 of those people were the people who were getting in all of the car wrecks and the ones that had all of the DUIs? Would it be better to now not have those people in the pool and instead be left with a smaller, less risky pool? And the answer is, of course. There are several cases where a smaller group pool is actually better than a large group pool. What we heard from one of the largest small group carriers in the state of Colorado is that the 50 to 99 block within small group currently runs $18 per member per month higher than the 2 to 50 pool. So my hyperbolic example of the car driver with all the tickets and crashes and DUIs is exactly that, hyperbolic, but the principle is the same. 50 to 99 costs the same, or in some cases more, in the case of one insurance company, and remember, there's only 3 carriers in the small group, so to have one tell you that it's this big a difference, I think tells a pretty good story. That difference per member per month, $18 per member per month. So when you consider my family, me, my spouse, kid 1, kid 2, kid 3, it's almost $100 per month more expensive in claim spend currently in 50 to 99 than it is 2 to 50. That's where we're very confident that we are able to thread the needle and not only have those 50 to 99 groups save money by moving to large group, but also benefit simultaneously the 2 to 50 pool. But it's a great question. Everybody asked it, and I've got the numbers that I'm happy to share with you, Senator.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 73. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 73 is adopted. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the title to Senate Bill 83?
Senate Bill 83 by Senator Smallwood and Coleman and Representative Luck concerning the emergency possession of certain relinquished children and newborn safety devices.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 83 and the associated committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee report added freestanding emergency departments. It was adopted, and we ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Seeing no further discussion on the committee report, the motion is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report for Senate Bill 83. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Member, Senate Bill 83 authorizes the fire station, hospital, community clinic, emergency center, and all other authorized facility to install a newborn safety device on its premises for parents who voluntarily relinquish their child who is 72 hours old or younger. The safety devices will not be mandatory, however. They will offer an additional safe surrender point to parents. Safety devices will not be the fiscal responsibility of the fire department or district, as monies are typically raised through community donations. Due to this, there is no fiscal note associated with the bill, and I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the good senator from Denver for co-prime sponsoring Senate Bill 83. And just a couple of points on that to remember is that the key word here is authorize. So currently, these devices are not allowed in the state of Colorado. This bill would simply be permissive if a fire station, if a hospital, if a freestanding emergency department decides that they would like to install one of these, to comply with all the rules for installing one of these and maintaining these, because there's a tremendous amount of maintenance, including the testing of these. If they voluntarily choose to install one, this law would allow them to do so. There is no mandate, there's no expectation, as we discussed at length in committee. Realistically, there are some of these facilities, fire departments, hospitals, emergency rooms, particularly those in rural, resort, and frontier Colorado, where candidly it's simply not practical, and we don't really expect them to be installed. But with those where they can be, and if they really want to, we again want to be permissive and at least allow them to if they choose to do so. Would ask for your aye vote.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to have a little bit of discussion on this bill, because I'm, not lucky enough to serve on the Health Committee. So I was unavailable to participate in the debate. Why is this bill needed? Senator, I'd like to ask Senator Coleman, the good senator from Denver.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the other good senator from Denver, the question is, why is this bill needed? For me, the bill is needed because several advocates from our communities reached out and said, look, we already have it in law for us to be able to relinquish our baby whether it's at a hospital or a fire department. We actually codified the bill in 2017 when I first got elected and made it so that fire departments could be an additional place for you to relinquish your baby. When they came to us, many of the conversations were, it's already a traumatic experience as a mother, which is an experience I've never had, will never have, to relinquish my baby and hand deliver my baby to a hospital worker or a fire department at a fire station. What I would love is I'd love a safe, clean, effective way of being able to relinquish my baby without interaction. And for me, I said, look, that's something that you're supportive of and you want. I'm more than happy to advocate for that. And that's why this bill is needed. That's why we're running it.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate that response. Organizationally, who in this state is prepared? I appreciate the response from women and mothers as they are, and parents as they are navigating that experience. What institutions, should this bill become law, are prepared to implement such a policy around a baby in a box?
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another great question from the other good senator from Denver. The answer is there may be institutions that are prepared and there may not be institutions that are prepared. This is why it's opt-in. In order to actually be an institution with a device for newborn safety, you have to go through the process of making sure that you're prepared, you're educated about that process. You have to opt in order to be able to do it. And so the likelihood of someone opting into this process without being prepared to do so is highly unlikely.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so if I'm understanding correctly, that there are no institutions who are asking for this policy to be enacted at this time.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So your question wasn't, are there institutions asking? Your question was, are there institutions prepared for this? So I had a personal conversation at my local fire department because I wanted to know on the way home, is this something that if I was going to pass this bill and they decided they want to institute it, what would their perspective be? Would they be able to do it? For them, they say, listen, we're already a place where a mother can relinquish her child up until a certain point, hand deliver, but right now we are unable to do this without that process. We could not have a safety device. So there wasn't any opposition to it, but for me, when I asked them, based off of what the advocate said, they said, hey, this is something that we would definitely be supportive of.
Senator Jaquez Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually served on the Senate Health and Human Services Committee yesterday when we heard this bill, and I was concerned because I heard the testimony from organizations, since we're talking about Colorado maternal health here, and I heard the testimony from 3 important maternal health organizations in Colorado: Elephant Circle, Soul to Soul, and Calore. All 3 are leaders in what we really want to define as proper care and work in mental health, in maternal health. And they all 3 are opposed to this bill. It did pass out of committee by only 1 vote. And so I have a lot of concerns about this, and I'll tell you more personally why. I believe there is a loss of human contact when you have a baby and you put it in a box. And that is very concerning to me. And I just don't think we have really flushed this out yet. I don't think we have really thought about what it would be like for a woman who has carried a baby to term, and then what are the consequences? What are the counseling needs? What is the family going to go through? We have not really thought this policy through. And the thought of putting a baby in a box, I'm sorry, I just can't go there. I don't think we've really, really thought about all the aspects of this bill.
Senator Gonzalez.
Are there companies that specialize in creating this type of device? Are they advocating for this bill? Did they testify in support in committee?
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the senator from Denver for that question. There are manufacturers of newborn safety devices. I had one stakeholdering conference call several months ago, this was probably 90 days ago, that I believe, but I'm not sure, that a representative from a manufacturer was on that call. They certainly know that they were not the driving force behind the legislation. That was myself. But there was at least one manufacturer, but the specifics as far as whether there are multiple, I do not know, but there was certainly no opposition from that person on the stakeholdering call. But to answer your question directly about testimony, nobody from any manufacturer showed up for testimony to either support or oppose the bill.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that, Senator. How much would one of these devices, if they were to be installed, cost a local government or an organization or a hospital or a school or wherever else is authorized under this bill? Okay. Do you have an answer on that?
Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And the question is, how much would it cost? We don't have that answer. I think part of the issue is who would be the responsible party for paying for it. And when we talked to advocates, advocates said this is something that, which is why there's no fiscal appropriation to it, there's no note. This is something that the community who desire to have this in their particular fire department or hospital would be in support of fundraising the dollars. If that case for gift grants and donations, there's no appropriation for the bill.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did fire departments come forward and testify in support of the bill?
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the senator from Denver for the question. No, I do not believe anybody from any special district testified, but let me put this a little bit in perspective. So my first session here, I ran a safe haven bill regarding expanding the definition of safe haven newborn drop-off locations to include freestanding emergency departments. Every single one of you who was in this building at that time voted yes for that bill. So if we change the question a little, how many hospitals came to testify about supporting themselves being included in the safe haven law? That everybody in both chambers voted. There were 0 no votes, colleagues. 0 no votes when we did that. Nobody asked in any of the committee meetings or on the floor in either chambers, well, how much does it cost to expand the definition of freestanding, to expand the definition of eligible drop-off locations to freestandings? Nobody during any of the testimony asked the hospitals themselves, how do you feel about being included in this expansion? Okay, so to be fair, having sponsored 2 of these pieces of legislation, that again, not a single no vote in either chamber in any committee, this was not something that was brought up then. If it was, maybe I would have had the foresight to then expand a little bit more when it came to this bill. There was a bill the very next year, which again, every single one of you who was in either chamber at that time voted yes for, not a single no vote, which expanded the education around Colorado's safe haven laws to include the education of safe haven as part of, call it sex ed, across the state of Colorado. Shall we include that? Not a single no vote in any committee or in any chamber, 100 to nothing. We all, as legislators, said, this is important. This is something we all agree on and we all want. And not once in committee, not once on the floor of either chamber did somebody say, well, has anybody talked to the schools to see whether or not the schools supported being included in this piece of legislation? Nobody asked that question. Had they, I might have had the foresight to answer the senator from Denver's questions a little bit more, maybe more to their satisfaction. But this is a topic that historically has had broad bipartisan support. We have broad bipartisan support today. We have sponsors from both parties in both chambers, and had I anticipated that this would be something that is now meriting a larger conversation, I should say, then you know, I'll confess, maybe we would have broadened the stakeholdering process from just the folks that we had to include more folks across the state of Colorado. But I felt, based on this small expansion of existing laws that had broad bipartisan bicameral support, that we answered those questions. And at this point, I don't remember what your original question was. Did the firefighting community, did the hospital community, did the school community, did any other community come out to support or oppose this bill being included? The answer is no.
Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This one kind of caught me by surprise. When I hear the discussion on this, my visualization goes to the Amazon boxes that we, take our extra packages and put them there and alert somebody that, oh, it's time, to come pick up your package. So my question is, how long can a baby be in the box before there's going to be a problem? They talked about testing the devices. Is that what the test is to see when you set them down that an alarm goes? I mean, how do the people inside of whatever facility this device is will know that the baby is in the box? And then I guess the question is, how long can a baby stay in a box before the tragedy happens where maybe this baby is going to perish? And then who's going to be liable for that? Will it be the institution that has the box in front of their store, or is it going to be the mother who left the baby there thinking that everything was okay, that this was a good device? So those are just the initial questions that have come up from reading this and hearing to the initial conversation.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the senator from Centennial for those questions. Those were questions, by the way, that we've had throughout the building, because I think it is easy without actually seeing a photo. Perhaps I should have put an easel up. I think it actually would have been helpful for a lot of folks, had it been permitted, to show what these devices look like, and I would be happy to share with the senator some photos of what the devices look like. They are designed to provide information to the relinquishing parent or the relinquishing party, including the crisis line that's there with information, toll-free number right there upon the device. When the device is opened, there is a bassinet there. It is temperature controlled, because obviously it's linked to the interior of the building. And there must be, according to this bill, a dual alarm system for those devices. So if a facility chooses to install one of these, and again, I know I sound like a broken record, but a facility has to choose to do this. Exactly to the senator's point, if you're in charge of a fire station in Frontier, Colorado, and it's staffed sporadically with volunteer firefighters, let's say, or volunteers, period, a facility like that, I would say would not, but on the microphone I'll tell you, definitely should not even consider installing a newborn safety device. Because to the senator's point, there may or may not be somebody there. It would be irresponsible for them to even make such a consideration. But for a facility that wants to do that, the direct answer to the question is, there's a dual alarm system. By statute, has to be. This isn't theoretical. By statute, a newborn safety device must have a dual alarm system. That dual alarm system needs to be tested weekly, and the device itself needs to be physically checked at least 2 times per day. So I suppose, theoretically, a child could be in a newborn safety device for hours, but practically speaking, of the 200-some relinquishments across the country, the testimony we heard in committee was that there has never been a relinquished child in a device for more than 5 minutes, and the average is more like 90 seconds because of the dual alarm systems that go off. But I very much appreciate the question. It's a very profound question, and I'm happy to share specific photos and details of the device if the senator or if anybody else is interested.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm reading the original statute here. And the statute, as it is currently contemplated, prior to this bill, states the firefighter or staff member of the hospital or community clinic emergency center shall, without a court order, take temporary physical custody of the child. Is there really a need to define what the box looks like in the device? Why is this bill needed?
Senator Smallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I answer that question, which I will, I want to apologize to the Senator from Centennial in mixing up my numbers. 207 active devices in the United States with 44 surrendered children, not 207 surrendered children. So 207 devices, 44 children that have been surrendered. The question from the Senator from Denver, why is the bill needed? Well, the bill, from my perspective, is needed for one reason and one reason only. Again, we're talking about a live newborn, and we have the example of just in the last 12 months, 2 mothers in our state convicted of murdering their newborn children. One, Peyton Green, 90 days ago, Ms. Green was sentenced to 40 years in prison for murdering her newborn child. Amy Grace Carr, 10 months ago, sentenced to 55 years in prison for murdering her newborn child. So for me, this is a huge reason why this bill is necessary. I'll tell you why it's necessary. I'll tell you exactly why. Because anything that we can do as a society to help a mother in crisis who has delivered a baby and does not want to keep that baby, any option that we can give that mother so that the idea of murdering their child and spending 40 to 55 years in prison for doing so is not an option for me, colleagues. If we can do something that's easy and safe and free, that not only saves the life of a child, that's great, but also saves the life of a mother. These were statistics that I just happened to pull up in committee. This is within the last year, these 2 convictions in Colorado, and we're in a growing state. So the answer, I would hope, seems obvious. If there's a free, safe, what we thought non-controversial way of helping a mother out of crisis, and by the way, along the way, saving a newborn from potentially being murdered, why wouldn't we at least consider that? Why wouldn't we put it as an option? Very much like the senator from Denver, my co-prime sponsor, has mentioned, I have had dozens of conversations with women over the course of the last 120 days, just asking them anecdotally, if you had a baby, you delivered a baby. Because remember, that's all this bill is talking about. We're talking about we already have a newborn baby. We're already dealing with a baby a live baby who has been delivered. Let's start with that. What is the likelihood, if you did not want that child, that you would be more comfortable handing that baby to another human being, which is the only thing allowed in statute today. The senator from Denver is absolutely correct. That is the only option we have in Colorado. I think I said Denver. That's the only option we have in the state of Colorado today, is to physically hand your baby, not just to anybody, but to an actual employee of a fire station, a hospital, or a freestanding emergency department. You'll find that if you keep reading. In those conversations, I asked, would you be more likely to hand that baby to another human being? And in my thinking as, again, a male who'll never deliver a child, what somebody must go through to look another human being eye to eye and say, I can't take care of this baby, here you go, versus allowing them the option. Because this is just an option. And as I've already confessed, it's not going to be an option for everyone. It's not going to be an option across the state. But if we can help a few people with another option, for that mother that says, I am simply not comfortable looking another human being eye to eye and handing a baby, I would just much rather be able to place that baby in a bassinet, grab the information that is in that bassinet, paperwork that talks about, hey, do you want to maybe consider not doing this and doing a physical handoff instead, everything that comes with that, counseling information that's all there? Do we want to provide that simply as an option or an alternative? Of course we do. Why would we not want to? And again, I appreciate the logical arguments, like, tell me about the box, tell me about the facility, tell me about the alarms, tell me about that type of thing. But hopefully that helps. That is, I'm not going to be foolish enough to speak for my co-prime sponsor, but that's the reason why I'm running it, to do whatever we can to make sure that the Peyton Greens, the Amy Grace Carrs, don't spend the next several decades rotting away in prison. By the way, they were 19 and 20 at the time this happened. So when we talk about an entire life ruined, I think that's pretty safe to say. I think that's pretty accurate to say an entire life ruined. We can help those folks and to boot save the life of their children instead. Seemed like a good bill to me.
Senator Gonzalez.
I'm going to stand over here because the good senator from Parker is way taller than I am. But I appreciate hearing those stories, and it's part of what drives my interest in the policy, because I'm kind of surprised that these questions didn't come up in committee. But I read existing statute to say this staff, the person, shall without a court order take temporary physical custody of the child, and then it proceeds on forward. Nowhere in statute do I read language that says there has to be a handoff face to face and eye to eye. I don't read that in statute. So why need physical custody? Means physical custody. Agreed. Possession of the child. Possession of the child. Are we going to have to run another bill next year in order to ensure, like, if a volunteer wants to take custody, in order to amend that? Are we going to have to, next year, the year after, when another bassinet company wants to put forward a bill in order to clarify that not only are these temporary devices, but that, also temporary bassinets are eligible? I read the existing statute pretty clearly to be broad enough to be inclusive of these the goal that you were trying to accomplish, of the temporary boxes, without needing the bill. This is not about, for me, being callous towards individuals when they're in that moment of crisis trying to make decisions. So please don't read my questions as such. I'm just asking, why isn't current statute already permissive and inclusive of the goal that you are seeking to achieve. So, seeing nobody from the institution side asking for this makes me wonder whether this bill is the current statute that you all passed before my time. I would have asked those questions then, too, had I been here, but I wasn't. So, had those questions been asked, I would be curious. Because I read current statute to already be inclusive, to allow the goal that you are seeking to achieve to take place. But now that you've raised the question around murder and criminal consequences, that brings me to a question. What happens should a new parent drop off at one of these, in one of these new devices? A newborn child who is 73 hours old. This question I'd like to direct to the good senator from Denver.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the senator from Denver, you cannot just drop off a child anywhere today under current statute. It's very clear. It's in the bill in about 1,000 places. I'm being hyperbolic when I say that. It's not really 1,000 places. It's in several places that you have to drop your child off to a firefighter at a fire station or a staff member at a hospital, a community clinic, or emergency room, or a freestanding emergency room. That's why we need the bill, because the language isn't expansive today. This would make it more expansive. That's the only place in statute. I'm happy to take a senatorial 5 and show it in all of the places where you're the only place you're allowed to drop it off.
Senatorial 5? No. The motion. Senatorial 5.
No, I'm good. I asked a question about what happens on hour 73. And there doesn't seem to be a response. And so
there is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Hubler, will you please read L002 to House or to Senate Bill 83?
L002, amend printed bill, page 2, like
Senator
15.
Gonzalez.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L002 to Senate Bill 83.
To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we really are trying to prevent harm to these children, and in order to ensure that there's not criminal or DNN cases, dependency and neglect cases filed against these parents, why not broaden the bill to be more inclusive? So my bill, or my amendment, shifts 72 hours to 72 months. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Denver for what I think is an attempt at humor. She was already beaten to the punch by several of my colleagues who asked that we extend it out to at least age 18, if not age 25. So I appreciate the good-natured attempt at the amendment. My colleagues have already beat you to the punch. On a more serious note, we did have that discussion with advocates who potentially would like this to be extended. I personally pushed back quite a bit on that after conversations with law enforcement several years ago on the first bill, which is I'm not comfortable opening up that window any longer due to a bunch of other extenuating circumstances that law enforcement would have an issue with. But again, appreciate the senator from Denver's gesture. Would ask for a no vote.
The motion is the adoption of Amendment L002 to Senate Bill 83. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The noes have it, and L002 is lost. To the bill, Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then what happens at hour 73? I return back to my original question.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anything outside what we put in statute opens up a parent for charges on child abandonment.
Senator Gonzalez.
What happens to a parent who puts in an injured infant into this device?
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Interesting hypothetical, and the answer is, as I'm guessing the senator from Denver knows, it depends. Depends on the extent of the injuries. I mean, if it's a scratch versus if it's 2 amputated legs, the potential charges from law enforcement would differ.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What happens if a parent in that moment of crisis puts a dead infant into the box?
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I asked that question specifically 120 days ago, and the answer I received back from law enforcement is that law enforcement would more than likely, although I'm not foolish enough to speak on behalf of law enforcement would pursue an investigation and the subsequent murder charges.
Senator Gonzalez.
And how would such an investigation comport with the safety laws and the safe haven laws contemplated under your bill if you're giving individuals specific permission to do so?
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator from Denver. The statute's very clear that it talks about the relinquishment of children, not of dead people. Dropping off dead people anywhere across the state of Colorado is a crime.
The motion, Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm just asking some questions because I didn't have the benefit of being in our Health and Human Services Committee. I don't question the fact that that moment of crisis, when folks navigate, making the decision to relinquish their newborn, their child, comes at great anguish. But I read current statute as already being inclusive of the aim that you were trying to achieve, to the good senator from Parker. I appreciate the work that both the good senator from Parker and the senator from Denver have already done. This bill's, y'all did good work. Before my time. Probably would have voted for it then. Probably would have had these same questions then. Didn't have the good fortune of being here back in 2017. I read statute to already allow this to come forward. This idea, should there be an institution in the state who wants to pay for one of these boxes? And so it makes me wonder, why are we passing this bill? I respect that you're surprised that it may not have been controversial. But you know, I didn't have committee yesterday, so I just sat around and twiddled my thumbs, wondering what bills I could read. My question about DNN cases and about criminal charges that may attach. I think are germane to this discussion because this policy, if adopted, if I am to take the senator from Parker's word that it exists not 1,000 places in statute, but in multiple places in statute. But as I read the plain language of the statutes that are amended by this bill, I don't seem to see any language that requires like specific requirements that there has to be a hand-to-hand, face-to-face, eye-to-eye transfer of the child. And so, but if I am going to take that at face value, if this bill were to pass and we were to see a child who was, I don't know, 90 hours old, 95 hours old, a week old. Clearly, I couldn't do math on the mic. What happens then? I think there's lots of unanswered and outstanding questions here. I request a no vote on this bill. Thank you.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Bill 83. All in favor say aye. Aye. A division has been requested. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated. I guess I'm jumping the gun there. A division has been requested. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated. The motion is for the adoption of Senate Bill 83. All those in favor, please stand. Please be seated. All those opposed, please stand. The chair is not in doubt. Senate Bill 83 is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had a number of bills under report. Mr. Hubler, will you please read the report?
February 23rd, 2024, Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 73 and 83 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1048 as amended, passed on second reading, and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. SCR 1 laid over until February 26th and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 31 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, for excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 73, Senate Bill 83 is amended, passed on second reading and order engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1048 as amended, passed on second reading and order revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 laid over until February 26th and retaining its place on the calendar. Signing of bills.
February 23rd, 2024, the President has signed Senate Bill 29.
Message from the House.
February 23rd, 2024, the House has passed on third reading and returns herewith Senate Bill 58 and Senate Bill 30. The House has adopted and transmits herewith House Joint Resolution 1017. It's printed in the House Journal February 23rd, 2024.
Announcements. Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could have a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. We've been in here a long time, but I wanted to let you know that the Grand Junction Area Chamber of Commerce has been here for legislative days for the last 2 days. More than 60 people came from Grand Junction to meet with various departments and talk to various legislators. And I hope, even though I think they've probably already left our chamber, I hope that if you see them today, that you'll welcome them to the Capitol.
Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The latest installment of the Property Tax Commission will be back in action at 1 o'clock today. Would love to see folks there. I want a big thank you to the senator from Brighton for showing up for the Denver meeting. I hope the Sea Springs folks were able to take advantage of the regional meeting down in Sea Springs. We've got one more to go, which is in Fort Morgan tomorrow at 10:30. So for folks out in Peltonia, it'd be great to see you in Fort Morgan. The Honorable John Becker is going to be there. I'm pretty excited to see him. But we'll have a chance to hear from folks in the northeast part of the state on property tax issues as we continue our work in the Property Tax Commission. We do plan to meet, of course, today, March 1st, March 8th, and March 15th, which is our statutory deadline to get comments and recommendations back to this body. So love to hear from you as we continue this process. Thanks.
Senator Will.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. So it, again, is Perryville Friday, and I've been asked by a lot of the young people, especially interns and stuff around the Capitol, about my life experiences. I give them a lot of pearls of wisdom. So I wanted to mention that the Perry's Pearls will start every Friday. And the term pearls of wisdom is a metaphorical expression used to describe wise and insightful sayings or pieces of advice that are highly valuable. So I think it's appropriate for what we do here in this chamber about shaping tomorrow, and today's actions forecast the future. So the pearl is, the society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they know they shall never sit. Thank you.
Further announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Come up now.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate recess until 12 p.m. today. Colleagues, you do not need to stay. We just have to read some bills over the desk, but you're welcome to hang out and watch the festivities. Have a good weekend.
The motion before the body is for the Senate to recess until 12 noon today. You do not need to be here, is what he said. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in recess until 12 p.m. today.